Angela paced the cold pavement outside the subway station in Gangnam, her scarf barely shielding her from the sharp bite of early spring. Her long curly hair, once her crown of pride, now sat in a tangled bun atop her head. Her scholarship had ended 2 months ago, and despite everyone back home expecting her triumphant return, she couldn't go back. Not like this. You haven't made it yet. Those words haunted her. She said them to herself every morning. The truth was cruel. There was no money left for a return ticket to Nigeria, and even if she had won, how could she face her mother and siblings with empty hands? Her luck finally shifted when a sympathetic professor at the university helped her apply for an extra work visa. It wasn't permanent, but it gave her breathing space and the right to hustle. She landed a part-time job at a modest cafeteria in Gangnam. It wasn't much, but it paid the rent barely. Angela's days were a blur of hot trays, aching feet, and fake smiles. It was on one of those dreary weekday mornings that fate slipped quietly into her life. The cafeteria buzzed with life, students slurping noodles, businessmen talking into Bluetooth headsets, and housewives gossiping over coffee. Angela moved between tables with practiced ease, collecting trays and wiping down tables. She was bending over to pick up a fallen spoon when she overheard it. 3 women dressed in designer outfits, seated by the window, clearly rich and important. "I can't believe Jin-woo locked himself in the wine cellar again," one said, shaking her head. "You're lucky. My eldest set the oven on fire last week because he wanted to bake real bread like Paris. You think that's bad? Try getting your 28-year-old to stop dancing shirtless on the balcony in the middle of the night." Neighbors called the police. Angela blinked. Children? She glanced at them again. No, these weren't mothers of toddlers. They were talking about adults. She kept working, but her ears were focused. By the time the third woman stood up to leave and clicked her Mercedes car key, Angela acted on impulse. She dropped her tray, wiped her hands on her apron, and rushed after her. "Excuse me, ma'am," Angela called out, breathless. "I overheard you talking inside. About needing someone to help? I babysit. Or I could. I'm hardworking and trustworthy. I can take care of your son. Please, I really need the job." The woman turned, raising a perfectly plucked eyebrow. She was tall, regal, with ice blonde dyed hair and expensive pearls. "You want to babysit?" she asked. "Do you know what you're asking for?" Angela nodded fiercely. "Yes, ma'am. I'll do anything. I just need the opportunity." The woman sighed. "You're persistent. But this job is unconventional." "I don't care," Angela said. "I can handle it." The woman studied her for a long moment. Then, she reached into her purse and handed Angela a card. "Madam Lee Soo-jin, Hanol Group Estate, Cheongdam-dong. Be there tomorrow morning. Sharp. If you're late, don't bother coming." Angela stood in front of the mansion the next morning, her cheap sneakers soaked from the drizzle. The estate gate was taller than her building back in Nigeria. The mansion itself looked like something out of a Korean drama, towering, white stone, manicured lawns, luxury cars parked like ornaments. She pressed the intercom button. "Angela Okoye," she said nervously. The gate opened without a word. Inside, a sharply dressed butler greeted her and led her across marble floors into the grand lounge. But what she saw next nearly knocked her flat. 3 men stood in the living room. 3 devastatingly handsome men. They looked nothing alike, yet equally alluring. The oldest was tall, clean-cut, dressed in a gray designer suit with a smoldering glare, like a CEO straight out of a magazine. The second leaned on the marble staircase in a silk robe, tousled hair, and devilish grin. The youngest sat cross-legged on a velvet couch in ripped jeans and earphones, barely glancing her way. Angela blinked. "Where are the children?" she whispered. Madam Lee appeared from the hallway, arms crossed. "These are them." Angela froze. "Excuse me? You said you'd babysit." "I never said they were babies. These are my sons, June, Hanol, and Min-jae. And you'll be keeping them in line." Angela swallowed hard. I think there's been a mistake." "No mistake," Madam Lee said. "You said you'd do anything. You still want the job." Angela looked around. The luxurious interior, the scent of roasted coffee and sandalwood, the air conditioning, the idea of not returning to the cafeteria tomorrow. "I'll do it," she said finally, her voice almost cracking. That evening, Angela was assigned a guest room. She stood by the window, arms crossed, trying to make sense of her life. Her job was to manage their daily schedules, handle their bickering, and make sure they didn't burn the house down or appear shirtless on balconies. Easy? No. They were all impossible. June, the eldest, was the cold CEO type. He barely spoke unless necessary and hated unnecessary chatter. Hanul, the middle one, was flirtatious, sarcastic, and seemed to enjoy making Angela blush. Min-jae, the youngest, was moody, artistic, and unpredictable. Angela lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. She was supposed to babysit adults. 3 incredibly hot, unpredictable, emotionally chaotic men. What could possibly go wrong? The next morning, Angela was making breakfast when a voice startled her. "So, what's it like living in a mansion with 3 men?" It was Hanul, smirking in a silk shirt open at the chest. He leaned close, his cologne dizzying. Angela stepped back. "Don't get any ideas. I'm here to work." "Too bad. You're really cute when you're angry." She rolled her eyes and turned back to the eggs. But her heart was beating faster. The tension built over the next few weeks. Min-jae began leaving his sketchbooks near Angela's door, drawings of her face in different expressions. When she asked, he just shrugged. June, despite being cold, would check if she'd eaten or quietly leave canned coffee on the counter after her shift. And Hanul? He flirted openly, brushing past her too closely, whispering comments that left her breathless and confused. Angela didn't know when the lines began to blur. Maybe the night they all returned drunk from a family event and she had to take care of them. Maybe it was when June almost kissed her in the garden, but stopped himself. Or when Min-jae, in a sudden storm, pulled her into his room and kissed her like his life depended on it. Or when Hanul asked her, just once, with quiet sincerity, "What if I was serious about you?" But 3 hearts could not beat for one girl without consequence. And in a house full of secrets, passion, and rivalry, the question wasn't just who would win her heart, but who would survive it. Angela barely slept that night. The memory of Minji's kiss echoed behind her closed eyelids like a forbidden symphony. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, palms pressed against the cool ceramic, breath shaky. She wasn't supposed to fall for anyone, let alone 3. She washed her face, brushed her hair, pulled on the navy blue uniform Madame Lee insisted she wear. Then, she descended the grand staircase. Min-jae was waiting. He leaned on the stair rail, hair messy, eyes dark. "Did I scare you?" Angela stared. "Last night," he added, stepping closer. "You kissed me." Her voice was quiet. "Yeah, I did." She didn't move as he lifted a hand and brushed her cheek gently. Then he leaned in, lips almost touching hers again. "Stop," she whispered, stepping away. "You don't even know what you want, Min-jae." He smiled, a little wounded. "Maybe you do." Before she could respond, June's voice echoed from the dining room. "Angela, we're late." She turned and saw him, impeccably dressed, holding her tablet. His eyes flicked from her to Min-jae, unreadable. "Let's go," he added. Min-jae brushed past her. "Hyung still thinks he can own everything," he muttered. Angela followed June out, her heart in chaos. That afternoon, she accompanied June to a Hanul group event. It was supposed to be business, strictly. But June had insisted she come. "People need to see your face," he said. In the elevator, he turned to her. "They already gossip. That you live with us. That I keep you close. And what do you tell them?" He looked at her, eyes intense. "Nothing. I don't owe anyone an explanation. But maybe I owe you one." Angela blinked. "What do you mean?" The elevator dinged. He stepped out. "After tonight, you'll understand." That night, during the gala, June placed his hand on her waist, kept her close, introduced her as a trusted part of the family. Angela played the role, smiled, blushed. But behind her eyes burned confusion. Then, during the final toast, June leaned in and whispered, "If I were to kiss you tonight, would you stop me?" Angela turned sharply, her face inches from his. And she didn't answer. Back at the mansion, Hanul was waiting in the garden, seated beneath a cherry blossom tree, the pink petals swirling in the night breeze. "So, is it June now?" he asked, not looking up. Angela hesitated. "He asked me to attend. You wore his colors. You smiled for him. You looked happy."
"Don't twist things," she said.
"This isn't a competition." "Isn't it?" He finally looked at her. His gaze was softer than usual. "You're not just someone to us anymore, Angela. And I'm not going to pretend I don't want you." He stood, closed the distance between them, and took her hand. "Don't let him win because he was first. Let your heart choose." Angela pulled her hand free. "This is madness."
"No."
"This is real. And it's only just beginning." Inside the mansion, Madame Lee watched them through the curtains. "She's the spark," she said quietly. "Let's hope she doesn't burn it all down." Rain drizzled steadily outside the mansion as Angela wiped down the kitchen counter, her thoughts a tangle of lips, glances, and unspoken feelings. Her hands trembled, betraying her composure. Every time she thought she had a handle on the situation, one of the brothers did something to unravel her again. A soft knock on the glass doors startled her. She turned. It was Min Jae, outside, drenched, hoodie clinging to a sculpted frame, sketchbook held tight in his hands. Angela opened the door. "You're soaked. Are you crazy?" "You didn't answer my texts," he said. "You texted 34 times. I counted." She exhaled, stepping aside to let him in. Min Jae entered, dripping onto the tile, but he didn't care. He handed her the sketchbook. On the open page was a drawing of her, eyes closed, serene, haloed by rain. "That's how I see you, even when you don't look at me." Angela's chest tightened. "Min Jae, we can't do this." "Why not?" "Because my Hyun likes you too? Because Hanul can't shut up around you." He stepped closer. "I saw you that night, when June almost kissed you. I see everything. And I'm still here. Isn't that worth something?" She hesitated, caught between desire and reason. Then she did what she swore she wouldn't. She kissed him. Upstairs, June stood by the window of his home office, watching the garden below. Watching them. His jaw clenched. The scotch glass in his hand cracked slightly. "So, she made her choice," he muttered. But his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, burned with something else. Later that night, Angela sat in her room, Minji's hoodie still drying on the rack. Her lips still tingled. Her mind reeled. A knock interrupted her turmoil. She opened the door. Hanul stood there, surprisingly serious. "I know you kissed him." Angela swallowed. "You were watching too?"
"No."
"He told me." She stepped aside, but Hanul didn't enter. "I should be furious. But I'm not. Because I still believe you'll come to me in the end." Angela furrowed her brows. "Why?" "Because, out of the three of us, I'll be the one who never pretends." He kissed her forehead gently and walked away. The next morning, Madame Lee summoned Angela. The living room was unusually silent. All three brothers were present. June, arms folded, Min Jae, sketching aggressively in his pad. Hanul, twirling a teaspoon. "I hear there have been developments," Madame Lee began, voice sharp. Angela's stomach twisted. "You were hired to bring order. Instead, you've become the storm." Angela opened her mouth, but June spoke first. "It's not her fault. We pursued her." "That doesn't make it better," Madame Lee snapped. She turned to Angela. "You will choose one of them, or you will leave this house tonight." Gasps echoed. Mother, no." Angela looked at each brother. Her throat tightened. I can't choose. Not yet." Madame Lee's gaze hardened. "Then pack your bags." Angela fled upstairs. That night, the storm outside mirrored her heart. Lightning split the sky as she zipped her suitcase. Footsteps approached. She turned, expecting one of them, but it was all three. "June, don't go." Hanol, we'll convince her. Min-jae, let her decide. Angela stared at them. What if I told you I cared for all of you? Silence. Then we'd fight for you, June said. But not tonight, Min-jae added. Tonight, we let you breathe. Angela sat on the edge of the bed, overwhelmed. She wasn't leaving.
Not yet.
And deep down, she knew this house wasn't just her workplace anymore. It was the center of her heart's most dangerous game.